kind of elements to his blood. He's my twin.
Did he act left or right?
Both.
Very good God.
My brother has his blood has particular qualities which will help people recover from various diseases, but he went missing. Hey, we can arrange some drinks with the boys. Hey, go for a few beers.
I would love to have a couple of drinks with you all.
Yeah.
Let me.
I don't know what I think about this dance you're doing there, Morgan. It's quite unsettling.
Oh.
Oh, I'm getting a good stretch here.
Oh. That's quite the leg muscles.
Yes,
What is it?
heading to this event in the town hall.
The seminar?
That's right. Good God! Oh, save me, Doctor.
Okay. I'm going to extract the bullet and seal the wound, okay?
Use your mouth. Suck that bullet out.
It hurt.
Oh, yes.
There we go, it's out.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. Owen, stop. We've lost her. Damn it! Damn it! Would you now say that the biggest stunt of all is love?
That's fucking beautiful, dude. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing to say.
Good evening, everyone.
Oh, goodness.
Hello?
Dr. Douglas Happenstance.
Oh, I didn't recognize you.
I mean, there is one person who looks a lot like me out there. You wish. Imagine you trying to get in command of this city.
Why is that funny?
Just imagine you in a position of power.
How did you get down here, Doctor?
I got a ride on the back of Takeheart's bike. How did you get here, April?
I drove by myself. I like driving by myself.
I'm sure you do. Oh dear!
He's forgotten to eat the silly goose.
Such a silly
I'm gonna have
goose.
to help him out.
Do it with your mouth. Oh. Carlton.
Taking April over to the pier.
Here?
Nice over there. Yes.
Yeah.
What? A boo! A boo!
I think he's crying.
A boo! We've only got the orange flavor. Is that okay?
Why would you have the orange flavour, not the original?
Medical cuts. This is my secret supply, just for you.
You've been stashing the fucking strawberry cow
Oh, I got it shipped over from Nicaragua.
Give me all the cowboy you've got.
There you go. A little something extra too.
Give me all the cowboy you've got now.
Whoa. Let's not get hasty here. Don't need any trouble here.
Make sure next time you don't burn my bloody face off.
hello. One and all. I've just remembered something. Oh no, I did turn it back to colour. Excellent. Hello, Frolicles. Hope you enjoyed your fish finger sandwich. And it's doing its job. Providing much needed sustenance. As you just seen in the previously on, fresh tartar sauce too. So I don't really, I mean, it's been a while since I've had fish fingers, to be fair, but I usually go for ketchup in a fish finger sandwich back in that, when that was a part of my life. But you've had a nice, you just got back from work. Excellent, and you got Diabrian tickets, so things are coming up. Frolicles. Right, we're doing a bit of a double today. And we'll do a little bit of happenstance and a little bit of trick. I try and put some subtle running jokes in. My work's very cerebral, Frolicles. Right. Character. Douglas Happenstance. Yeah.
Hey, man! Hey,
Things are... Well. Internal monologue. Time to get my sweet new car. Oh, wrong. That's the wrong thing. What in God's name? By God, where's my car? By God. It's disappeared, my sweet blue one. What is going on? The car has disappeared.
Hey, man.
We have to walk to the hospital. You're up playing PUBG till 1 in the morning. You naughty boy. You naughty, naughty boy. Went to see The Mousetrap yesterday. And I spent a long time going, I think that's a guy from EastEnders, and I'm not sure who it is. And I researched it today. It was Todd Carty, who at one point did he try and have a music career? This is what I was now trying to remember since researching that. But it was very good. I really enjoyed it. I guessed who the killer was. But that's the thing with The Mousetrap. You're not supposed to. Yes, Grange Hill. That's right. And also, Cassandra from Only Fools and Horses was in it. Oh, can you hear that rain coming down? You can hear it. Well, let me know if it's I don't know if the noise filter will... I turned the noise filter off for when... I can't remember why. It's subtle. Maybe it adds. Maybe it adds a bit of ambiance to proceedings. There. Someone's been in my locker. It's been forced open. By God, who would do such a thing? And why? What purpose will it serve? My car keys. By which I mean the keys to my car, not my, like, dark green items of clothing. I didn't realize that that was in Bristol, so they weren't in Peckham. That's madness. Have they got, like, just based on your excellent blue pack? Oh, you were in London, weren't you? Right? Weren't you working in London today? That excellent blue plaque thing you made. Did they have a blue plaque being like, this is... No plaques! They clearly look after their teeth. Great stuff here. Where were we? It seems someone has tried to access hospital funds, but it can't be done through this computer. That can only be done in Takeout's office, which I do have a key for I don't know, just reasons, you know. Canning man just having to have man's keys to their office. Is that such a bad thing? Yeah. Can't do cool joke. Ah. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Well found. Someone has been accessing the funds here. By God. 30 grand. 30 grand gone. By God. May God have mercy on us all. I think I better take some photographic evidence. Who's even... How could anyone get through here? You can't get to the lockers without... Only medical personnel can get in there. Does that mean... it was one of our own? Inside job. Who could do such a thing? Who could do such a thing? See who my colleagues are around. Starting to remember which music cue is which now. Smooth. Don't have my car. I can't find anyone. Ooh. I need to get some medical supplies. Oh, I can come back on right now. It's all very suspicious. You're right, Chronicles. Something going on. Whoa, my! You're back!
Yes, you might not be able to... Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hold on, two seconds, happenstance.
How very suspicious.
Happenstance, how does my voice sound, just out of curiosity?
Sounds...
I had a bit of a cold.
Sounds perfection.
Oh, perfect, thank you. Yeah, no, I got back to the city yesterday.
Yesterday, you say?
Yeah, I just got back yesterday.
Very interesting. So you've been away for a while and suddenly you return. Have you noticed something over there?
Happenstance locker forced into, keys taken. Oh gosh. My god, I did not see this.
Someone has broken into my locker and it gets worse. Follow me if you can. I'm not busy.
No worries, I was just changing my outfit.
Haha, dirt in your face.
Whatever happenstance.
So hello there, Sebastian. Follow me.
What's happening?
Hey, Sebastian.
Oh god, I saw that your locker had been kicked in.
My locker's been kicked in and there's more. Follow me, everyone.
Oh god.
Oh dear.
Oh, this way's quicker, actually.
Yeah, we did tell the police LeChuck was going to meet us here at some stage about the locker thing, but I guess more has happened.
More has happened.
Have you been part of a crime happenstance?
Victim of, by the sounds of.
I have. I think they broke into my locker so they could get access to my keys. Now, I do have keys for Takeheart's office, yes.
Oh, for fuck's sake. We all do, just in case.
Oh. We all... Yes, of course, we all do. Nothing else going on there. What are you talking about? Now, someone has accessed this computer.
He has access to all
removed...
finances? Fuck.
My god.
By God.
Okay. Should we head to the lobby, lock this room, make sure no one comes in here?
Yes, we've had... Hello, Sheep. How are you? I hope you're having a nice...
I suppose the less of us that have faffed around
Hospital
in here,
funds
the
have been stolen.
I would rather not be in this office.
This is bad.
We're already low in funds as it is. But you know what this means, everyone?
What does this mean?
Hospital fundraiser!
Oh.
That's exciting, isn't it?
Oh,
what should we
I
do?
do listen to that.
You know what? I was watching Romeo and Juliet recently. And they had a masquerade ball.
It's fine, it happens.
Oh.
I think we should have a masquerade ball. What do you all think?
Today.
I think that's a great idea.
I'm gonna get straight on Canva and do an invite very quickly and do the wrong date a couple of times.
Did someone want to poke LeChuck about the computer access, please?
Yeah.
Hello.
So I'm
Yes.
the unofficial receptionist. Hi guys.
Hello, everyone.
Ellie, your hair's different.
I know, I decided to go for a change, but I don't know if I like it, and Levi's already said he doesn't like it and wants me to change, so...
It's nice. I actually was. I changed
Yeah.
my hair yesterday, but I'm not feeling it. You know, I thought I'd go a bit beige, but I don't
Yeah.
think it's
Now,
So I was like, I don't know at the minute, so I'm just,
Charlie,
testing it out for today.
Yeah?
We'll
Come over
see
here.
yeah, I can always dye it back tomorrow if I want to change it again.
do you find it strange at all that April has been missing for days, maybe even a week? Suddenly she returns. And there's been all this spite of crime going on here.
Oh, I didn't even really put that together, but that is very interesting. I know LeChuck was looking for her.
She got up to some spicy stuff with Takeheart during that whole phase he went through.
Oh god. Has someone poked LeChuck about the other computer thing?
Not yet.
No.
Okay.
I'm just spreading wild conspiracies. Also, Charlie, you gotta play at this. You gotta play at this masquerade ball.
Oh, you think?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, I'm sure I can throw something together,
Oh, that's excellent. That's exciting stuff. It's conflicting emotions about, it's horrible that someone's broken into my locker and used my possessions to commit a crime. But at the same time, I bloody love getting dressed up nice and fancy for a good old time.
It's so funny. I have an outfit for the occasion.
Just so happens that I do too. What are the odds?
Oh, very lovely. I can't wait. I love a good ball.
Right. Should I call LeChuck?
Maybe. I'm not sure if... Yeah, maybe. I don't think Seb's going to call LeChuck.
Yeah. I don't know if there's much LeChuck's going to be able to do. I guess he can search for evidence, but...
He could, but... I mean... I don't know if he's going to exactly find anybody anytime
I don't think
soon.
so. Well, I'll give him a call.
Okie dokie. I'll let Sebastian know.
Hello?
Hello, is this LeChuck here?
It's LeChuck, yeah?
This is Douglas Happenstance at Pillbox Hospital.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I've heard about your locker getting broken into or something.
Yes, and we've discovered more. Are you going to be
Okay,
heading down here
I'm just gonna
anytime
get to the
soon?
hospital now.
Excellent. I'll see you very shortly.
Alright, see ya.
Crazy enough to warrant that kind of coordination.
LeChuck's on his
Nice.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
Oh well. At least no one's handing us guns, drugs, more drugs, peeing on the floor, passing out, getting pistol whipped, etc. today.
Did
That
no
Yes.
one
was
pee on the
last night.
floor?
Yet.
That was last night. That was your family, literally in the space of 10 minutes.
Oh, dearie me.
Which one pissed on the floor?
They all blend together, if I'm honest.
That's
One of them
fair.
pistol
LeChuck's
whipped the
here
other,
now.
and yeah, then they all started handing us guns and drugs. And
Hello there, LeChuck.
Hello.
Hello,
Oh,
LeChuck.
I'm here.
hey.
What would you like to see?
And then we got a call on the radio from Bert saying
Well,
someone just.
Oh,
What
it's
happened?
like a
Just,
party.
Yes,
Well, I just came in.
apparently.
I went to my locker. Well, before I got here, I went to get my car and it's disappeared. Then I go to my locker.
The reason they were panicking because
It
the truck
is.
was arriving is because they'd phoned me and
Off
said
duty,
one of us
though.
is injured.
Oh.
Can you get
Let's shall we
here
move
and
away
bring
from this
the police?"
conversation?
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
You already have this dance?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Hey, April.
Oh, hey, Chuck.
How's it going?
Follow me, LeChuck.
I think you've got some drama here to deal
Yeah,
with
they
as
were like,
usual.
let's walk away from this
Yeah.
conversation, and then they went in different
Alright,
directions.
see you in a bit. Okay, so where is it?
Now, these doors, you can't get through without hospital ID, you see?
Okay.
And as you can see, here, my
what's
locker's
that?
been forced open. My keys are gone. That includes my car keys. And also, I have a key to elsewhere. Okay, so that's weird enough as it is. Luckily,
You
I
say
can
you
get
need-
I can get through here with my hospital ID. This isn't a problem. Now, let me show you the next kind of curiosity I found.
So only people with the hospital ID can get through that door here.
That's correct.
Okay.
I come here to sign in on duty. I see that someone has been messing with this computer. Looks like they were trying to access hospital funds here. Turns out you cannot do it from this computer.
Oh, but
It can only be done.
Tried, though.
But they've tried. You can see clearly that someone has tried to do it. But then I realize they have my key. So I go to the place where they can take the funds.
Oh fuck! Where is that?
That's Take Heart's office. Now you see, we all have a key for that because, you know, what, just in case anything goes a bit haywire. I always never know which way to take. I mean, there's two different ways. I don't know which way is quicker. This way's quieter. But it's all very strange. My car no longer being available. My key is gone.
Yeah, so...
Hospital funds gone. We're underfunded as it is, LeChuck.
Wait, did he actually take it?
Well, you'll see. Come have a look at the computer here.
Let me see.
There you go. It's been...
Oh, shit.
Yeah, 30k gone. 30 big ones. 30 smackaroonies.
And you said that door is also...
Well, you just need the key for this one. Because only personnel can get to our lockers where our keys are kept, and... somehow someone got my ID. Were able to get to my locker, force my locker open, steal the stuff, and eventually came in here.
And then got here and stole the money.
That's right. So now, we're gonna have to put on some kind of hospital fundraiser next week.
I mean, I'm sure people would be willing to help with that. Like, you're all very, very important to the city.
Yes, exactly. Hopefully our dear mayor will help us out as well. I'm hoping to chat with her and see if she'll put some extra funds into healthcare.
That would be nice, yeah. So, either you just managed to break the door or someone from the EMS let them in.
Exactly, that was my thought. Now,
so do you think...
Listen to me, LeChuck. I can't help but wonder. April has been away for days. Suddenly, they return, and this stuff happens. And we all know things went a bit wild recently with April.
And she seems okay. Do you think she would do something like that?
I don't know, but Happenstance doesn't know that. It's hard to... It's the only dots I can connect at the moment. But that's not my job. That's your job.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting timing, certainly. It could just be a coincidence. Yeah, I'll look into it.
Thank you, LeChuck.
When did you see this?
Literally just in the last, like, 10 minutes or so. I may have tweeted it. I don't know if that was a good idea or not.
So you saw this just recently. What about the locker?
Literally, this is all as I just came in to work, you see.
Oh, okay. So I think Sebastian called me about the locker.
Yeah, see, I came in and then he came in just after I saw it and was like, "Oh, have you seen your locker?" And I was like, "I've just discovered more, so..." It's pretty wild, you ask me.
Yeah, I'll need to talk to Sebastian. And I'll ask April as well.
When I arrived, there was no one here at all. It was empty, so I don't know what time Sebastian got here and saw things.
When he called me, he said he's at the beach.
Oh, I see.
So I think he saw it and then just left to the beach and then called me.
So this could have been done at any time. We've got no evidence at all.
Yeah, like any time from last night until when Sebastian started his shift.
That's correct, and I've been out of the city.
Okay. I'll talk to the others and see what I can find.
Thank you, LeChuck. Don't know what Takeheart's gonna say when he sees all this. I hate to disappoint him. I never want to disappoint him.
Oh?
Sorry, got distracted, stared into the distance there. Carry on.
It's quite nice to send recruit like that. I've got more of a rule. It's not as nice sounder.
Yeah,
No.
sense.
It happens dance as you go on, man.
Or like,
Well, it's
it's
a weird old day.
More.
What did LeChuck say?
Well, he's gonna look into it. He's gonna see what he can do, but there's very little evidence.
I see.
Why would somebody break into your locker though? That's just weird.
Did you have any cafecitos or donuts in there? Because then that would make.
Well, the thing they've taken is my
locker.
keys. They took my keys. But as we all know, you can't get into there without hospital ID. So they must have had some kind of ID to get in.
Gosh.
So they've either had ID or somebody's been a dopey bastard and left the door unlocked.
It was
Which door
locked
is it?
when I arrived.
The one up the back, yeah.
But I guess they took my keys out of the
Over
locker.
there.
They could have locked it afterwards. It's mighty strange that... It is mighty strange that someone's been missing and they turn up again all of a sudden and then, these things are happening.
No, hold on. Alright, happenstance, but calm yourself. I've been through a bit of trauma, right? Leave me be.
So happenstance.
Yes,
Where's that accent from?
my mouth.
Oh, like where you from?
Where am I from? Let's say... Cheltenham.
Oh, that's probably.
Why not? Yes, I'm from Cheltenham.
Yeah, that's a classic Cheltenham accent there.
That's me. You go to Cheltenham, everyone speaks like this in Cheltenham.
Oh, cool.
You from Cheltenham too?
No.
Alright then.
Oh, I'm from Chile. Sorry.
You need a jumper?
No, Chile, Santiago.
Oh, I see. I got
Like
you.
America del Sur.
I know.
Are you sure you know happenstance?
Silly happenstance.
I know.
What a silly wee
Silly.
fella.
I know. So many silly wee fellas in this hospital, I tell you.
This whole damn city, of course.
So true.
So I feel like I'm cutting you out there, officer. There you go.
Oh, you're being too kind. I'm not an officer. I'm just like a recruit.
Don't say just a recruit. Recruit's just as valuable. I have a good friend who was a recruit for the longest time you could ever possibly imagine.
Oh, really? Like who?
Oh no, I don't know if I'm allowed to even know he exists. I don't know.
Oh, okay, no, that's fine.
Oh, you're thinking of Trick Daisy?
Yeah, that's the one. Him, yes.
Oh yeah, Trick Daisy. Yeah.
He was a recruit for the longest. That you can't even begin to imagine how long he was a recruit for.
Oh, he has very good music taste, I have to say.
Yeah. Lovely,
I guess
lovely
it
pair
was
of
just
shorts.
like a really long trick.
Yes.
Maybe he can. Maybe he can sort of crack this case. Imagine that. Imagine that's what's gonna happen at some point.
Imagine.
Could you even
I
begin
think-
to
I
imagine
think he
such a
could do it.
thing?
I've
I
heard
believe
he's got
in
a
him.
ridiculous bike though.
What? What? He rides a
What was-
ridiculous bike?
What's wrong with the bike?
That's all. I'm just repeating what I've heard.
Oh my god.
Interesting.
Silly little bike. Goodness me, what an absolute chump he must be.
Oh, I wouldn't say he's a chump. I've definitely met bigger chumps.
Well, I feel like a chump now. My
Well,
car, my
so true.
I
My car-
only met
my
Take
car's
Card
been
once,
taken.
And it had like a bike or a car that I like to severely overcompensating on wheels. It was like covered in bones and stuff.
my car's been taken. They took the keys and they stole my car.
Oh, what?
It's gone.
Oh, dearie me.
Did anyone see my car? It was a sweet sports car. Gosh dang it.
It was a very nice car.
Cassandra.
Yes, it was a very nice
That was
car.
its name.
Yep, Cassandra the
Oh,
car.
what a name.
Cassandra.
Yeah. She was a beauty.
She really
Stunner.
was.
She was.
A boo-hoo. A boo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
I'm gonna join
A
you for a coffee, bro. I'd acquire it.
boo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah, it's.
A boo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
Everything's gonna be alright.
Why am I wearing sunglasses?
No, why is
Why are you wearing sunglasses?
Oh, do you know what, April? That's a really good question. Mine's got knocked off my face.
It wasn't
Oh,
me.
yeah, jeez.
No, no.
Alright, Shaggy.
You should be wearing sunglasses around here.
Yeah.
I have no fancy car. It's Vapid Shino. Currently impounded by police.
You impounded your own car.
Yeah, well, I kind of crashed it.
Yeah, you're crashing it, alright, yes! Is that good?
Yes. More like blew it up at the garage door. Crashed it.
Happenstance, it's good to see you at work, actually, for once.
Was that?
Whoa.
I just said it was good to see you.
Where have you me? Where have you been?
Pero que está caliente.
I've been here more than you haven't.
Happenstance, you leave me alone.
Mira, este burn es demasiado
April, can I speak to
caliente.
you
Me
for
voy a quemar.
Yeah, of course.
I'm heading out for a drive, so I'll speak to you all later, okay?
Have a lovely drive.
Take care, Drips. See you, Gwen.
Bye.
Yeah. Just, for those who don't
Say,
speak
me coming to
Spanish,
work for once
I
that
just
I've
said,
been
like, that
away for
burn,
days.
that burn was so hot, I'm gonna catch fire.
That was horrible. Can't believe she said that to you.
Believe Trick can crack this in only 6 months. Well, I'll have to wait and see.
What, the burn was hot?
Oh no, Oh, it's nice to see you working for once.
Yeah, she'd been disappeared like a week. And before that, like, I know she was possessed, but she was barely here then.
Oh, why don't we all? Why don't we all?
What a time to be alive, Charlie.
I bet for
mind
more
that.
staff here that works even less than you. Like,
Some-
I heard about
well, there was a while I felt like I was the only one here.
Yeah, I heard about
Everyone else was
this,
off being possessed.
I heard about an influencer who never shows up for work anymore.
Oh, yes, I know who you mean. I haven't seen any of our nurses for a while, actually.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you work more than some.
Most of the people in my opening
true,
titles no
actually,
longer
So hashtag
exist.
valid, am I right?
Very
Yeah.
hashtag
Like, I
valid.
even saw a picture on Instagram where she had like complained about having to show up
Morgan's
for work because she
gone.
wanted to just
I don't know
stay
what
with
even
one
happened
pants.
to Srenge. I never actually saw
I
what
mean,
happened
that's
to him.
kind of a vibe sometimes, but yeah.
Freya's disappeared. Charlotte's
True.
away adventuring. The Jinx Grim only came to the hospital
But,
once,
like,
then vanished.
she gets
Billy
the worst
Blue
one
Shorts
for work.
disappeared.
Basically.
Barely any of the original cast left.
I would imagine scrubs feel like sweatpants, but what do I know?
They're mighty fine. Lots of room. Nice roomy trousers. Good when you need to stretch and, get at another piece of equipment when you're doing surgery. If it's far away, you can do the splits and reach further.
Oh yeah, just like owning scrubs lets you be able to do a split.
Well, no, you first need to be able to do the split, but they're good splitsing trousers.
You gotta warm up before you do that.
Yeah, you gotta
Yes.
limp it up.
Alright.
You gotta stretch. Yeah.
Oh my, oh my
Oh,
word.
we're
she's
not
on
in
it.
these
That's
pants. No, it's a
See,
pantalone. No,
I'm okay in these pants, you see.
Yeah, I can't do it in these.
No,
they're
my
big leather.
pantalones are gonna rip and it's gonna be so embarrassing.
I'm just trying to look.
Look, I'll
cool.
show you some of my
I can't do
karate.
Yes.
Like, we should be able to wear yoga pants at
Watch,
work.
ready?
Like,
Watch.
black
Hey,
yoga pants.
I can do that in these trousers. Yeah.
Something quite different from
Could you imagine if like the PD could wear like black yoga pants?
None of y'all have hair.
You probably do really well. You could run around.
Right.
Or maybe like shorts. Maybe shorts would really do the job.
Freeze.
Went to the same bar, but I don't
You've been arrested by Lululemons.
Y'all pulling it off real well, but it's quite alarming. I came in, no one was here. I came in again, no
I don't get the reference.
No, Lululemon is. I think that's like a. Isn't that like a yoga pants brand here in this country? I see it on like the interwebs all the time.
We do look
I don't know. I'm just a simple
bald
boy,
Logan's eyes.
simple surgeon from Cheltenham,
Yeah.
who's a
Right,
leading expert in
Cheltenham.
his field.
A place
I
I've
don't know.
definitely heard about and know which country it is in.
Oh, that's the most horrifying image I've ever seen.
Oh, people are getting excited over there.
You know what?
April,
Happenstance.
Yes, LeChuck.
all well.
Can I speak to you for a sec?
Yeah, you know, it's been a bit of a weird couple of weeks. I don't know if you missed a lot of what went down.
Yes, but I've heard all about it. Heard how that's me. I'm here happenstance. Heard how old Takeheart kind of left you in the lurch a bit, didn't he?
Ask you for a cheeky hug.
Yep, thanks for reminding me. Happenstance.
Yeah, not done that to me, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you weren't also possessed though and added into his family. So
Now,
take
here's
with
the
that if you
thing.
will.
When he got freed, the memory came flooding back to me when he attempted to possess me and failed.
Oh, is your mind too strong?
Well, it's when he asked me to kill, I knew Happenstance wouldn't want that. This really can't be Happenstance. So I just kind of weirded out and blacked out. But then he kind of put some kind of memory loss thing on me. But as soon as he became free, it all came flooding back.
My God.
By
Jeez.
God.
Ended made me feel shit.
But also,
Like,
yes, my
I'm
mind's
just gonna
probably
go
too
in my
strong
head
too.
and
That's also it.
Oh, of course, your mind is far too strong to be mind controlled.
I'm a leading surgeon. Best in the country.
Well, as long as I just avoid take heart and I get, focusing on work, I'm a happy girl.
Well, that's pretty much easy. He's never here anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've heard that. He's a
he's
Skype
rarely
bastard.
around.
Gets paid so much money to do nothing, that man. And I, god damn it, I respect it.
Don't respect him.
No, he did a bad thing.
Did he, or was it the demon?
Well,
He was a bit of a shit before the demon, to be honest with you.
that is true.
I shan't hear that.
He
I
asked me
can't
on
hear
many
that.
dates.
He asked me on many dates too. Shut up, whatever.
Oh yeah, of course he did.
So many. How many dates did he ask you out on?
Quite a lot, to be fair.
I need a number. I need a digit. Give me.
Let's say 4 times, and then the time I did go on the date with him, that's when he mind controlled me.
So he asked you out on 4
Yeah.
dates or 5 dates?
Let's go with 5.
He asked me out on 6 dates.
Of course he did.
Oh my god.
You okay, Sebastian? In your own head, I guess. Yes.
No. I can't really stand the sight of him anymore. It just makes me sad.
I've still got a lot of photos on my phone. I haven't got the heart to delete
Oh,
them yet, but I will eventually. They're for science.
We can't be hung up on him like this.
Oh,
I can.
We can't. We need to move on.
He's not worth it.
Exactly. Well,
You don't know him like I do.
I decided to be a bit bold just there and see if LeChuck wanted to go bold together.
Oh,
You're moving on LeChuck here.
Well.
Oh
I'm not
my.
moving. It's just because, we got chatting yesterday after you saved me from the cougar and, we've got a lot in common.
I mean,
Well,
look at him.
mean-
He is a... Oh, look at that tall drink of water. I mean, come on now.
So true.
Hubba, hubba.
And I like that he doesn't seem like he would try possess me, I think.
No, he was very respectable during the compromising
Fuck, look
stuff.
Oh, hello there.
Oh, hi.
What's with the heads?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Oh, is this just me?
I think that might not just be you. I think
Yeah,
Do you need a
else
do you need an
experiencing
MRI,
that.
sir?
What's happening with heads?
Some people are seen as baldies.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I really hope no one sees me as a baldy.
This person's a baldy too. Can you all stand together?
Oh my god.
no.
You know what
My
it is?
balls?
It's because we
By
don't
God.
have the original default haircuts.
Well,
that's-
I'm not default.
That's
Love.
concerning if people are not seeing a
Oh.
non-default.
I wonder
I'll tell you
what
what.
makes who see what.
Give me a second.
By God, such strange goings on in this hospital.
The haunted
Very
hospital.
The
bizarre.
macabre, the paranormal.
I've had enough macabre.
I wish I
once in a
didn't see
lifetime.
that guy's hair. I really can't stand that hair.
Oh.
Which hair?
Hey, this is my dad's hair.
Oh, you inherited it, did you?
dear.
In the will?
Yeah, I took it off his body. Some people would say
Christ.
corpse.
Well, most people. Well, yeah, if he was he dead or alive at the time, I guess.
You spin me right
I
round,
was
baby.
going to sing as well.
Anyway, I'm looking for a very loud, annoying woman with one ass cheek.
Oh, Deepmore's mom. Who were
Oh,
you
yeah,
pointing
yeah,
at there?
What?
Ricky's maw.
Who were you pointing at?
I was just stretching my arm.
Oh, okay,
I've not
okay.
seen him.
Ricky's maw. All right,
Very
okay.
sorry.
Well, if you see her, let her know Danny's looking for her, not in a creepy way.
Danny,
Aye,
did
okay.
you want?
Noted.
Did you want stuff from the bean machine?
That's okay. I'm all filled up now.
Okay, all right.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, luckily for me,
The
I
chap,
still
you had
have
any
my-
luck at all?
I still have my.
Should I say luck?
Oh, it just ran into the door. No, like I've talked to anybody, no one's seen anything weird, so I think the most likely thing for that door
Yes.
is that the lock was just not working. You know how they usually do.
I see.
As for why it's your locker, if like their goal was to just get into Descartes' office and get the money.
Well, this is the
then-
thing. What I would say is, if my car keys are gone, and specifically my car is gone, they must have known it was my car, surely. They must know which car to take.
Hmm.
Oh, Cassandra, my big blue sports car. I miss her so already. A
So
boo-hoo.
was it out in the parking lot or?
It was, well, I usually park it all the way up at the car park over there. It's gone.
Okay. But again, like that, you think the
If
main
there's some
thing
things
here
you're
is the
finding don't
money.
make sense, I wouldn't worry about it too much.
No. I mean, the money would seem to be like if they didn't take your car, right, and they went for the money, then it would be like, okay, it just happened to be your locker. They just needed the key. If they took your card, we can look out for it. What does it look like?
Big. Blue.
Okay.
Fancy.
Big, blue, and fancy.
Just like me.
Right. Right.
And by blue, I mean terribly, terribly sad.
Oh,
A boo-hoo.
why are you sad?
A boo-hoo-hoo. Oh, we don't have time to get into every minute detail of my current story arc.
Okay, no worries. Hope you feel better.
Thank you. But like I say, good news is we're going to have a masquerade ball to raise funds.
Oh, when's that?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, and today, I don't know what today is. So...
Well, today is Wednesday. It's a week today.
Okay, that's good. Genuinely had no idea what day it was.
It happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Where are you doing that? Have you found a place?
Well, I was thinking of venues. I hear this new recording studio may be a great place for it to be.
Have you seen it? It looks really nice.
Yeah, I think that'd be the best place. At one point, I thought the hospital, just so we could keep a tabs on everyone, but might not be quite as fancy.
You know, the recording studio is really cool.
I have had one thought about it. I wonder if we should do a bachelor auction.
Huh?
A bachelor auction. Yeah, you know, where people pay and they get to take someone out on the date.
That's the thing?
Yeah, it's a thing. I've seen it on sitcoms.
Oh.
I've not confirmed that yet. It's just an idea that came into my head in the last 30 seconds.
Right. I think, wasn't it Ralph that was trying to do like a speed dating thing? I think it might be Ralph.
The whiny man.
That one. Yeah, pink hair.
Yes. Absolute shambles of a human being.
He's alright. It's not
Oh
very
yeah, he's
good,
harmless. He's completely harmless.
It's not very
Weak
good at
and
crime,
harmless.
but, you know, he was telling me he was thinking about running for mayor.
That man is mayor. By God, by God, that's a hilarious joke you're saying there, LeChuck. That's very,
No,
very
he-
funny.
he
Very
genuinely
droll
told
of
me
you.
He really told me that. Although, like, he's busy with the show.
Show?
Yeah, do you know Fame or Shame?
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I've never seen it either. But there's like some billboards for it on the site, and turns out that Ralph was on it like ages ago.
I see.
And then he's gonna be hosting the new season.
Ralph? Gotta be a celebrity
Ralph,
on the
yep.
television. By God.
Yeah, apparently he was already. We just didn't
Well,
know,
even more,
'cause it
yeah.
was, like,
Making a comeback, I guess.
a long time ago. Yeah.
Hey,
Although
that defies
Ralph as
all
mayor would be-
expectation.
Yeah. Imagine Ralph as mayor, though.
Oh, I dread to think of it.
See, I think he would win if he ran for it.
Oh, you really?
Yeah, because a lot of people would be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna vote for Ralph." As a
Oh,
vote,"
I see. Like,
right?
that'd be the funny vote. Well,
Yeah,
you're gonna
yeah,
get
and then
yourself
you'd
into
actually
a Boris Johnson situation.
Yeah, and then he actually ends up winning.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll be like, oh, that's funny. That's funny, isn't it? That this man has just got the low-key position of mayor of London. This can't escalate.
Mm-hmm.
We could just laugh at him getting stuck on like a zip line and stuff, and then that's the end of that. Nothing worse could come of it.
Yep, everything will be good.
By God.
Oh,
Well.
I think the recruit is back on comms now. I was waiting for her. She was hiding at the back.
I see. Well, thank you for all your assistance, LeChuck.
We'll look for the car. Wait, you said it's a big blue car, right? How many
Big blue
doors?
sports car. It's called Cassandra. Call out Cassandra! Cassandra! It will know. It'll
Okay,
honk or
I'll-
something, I
I'll
guess.
shout that and yeah.
Yeah, big blue sports car.
Alright.
JB700, possibly.
Okay. If we find the car, I'll let you know.
Thank you very much, LeChuck.
No worries.
It was a very important tweet. What? Was problem? It was a very important tweet.
It was a very important tweet, had to be said.
Yes.
What's happening?
Is that you? Who's this?
Ellie's just incriminating herself.
I'm Douglas Happenstance. We've met so many times.
I'm sorry. You have no hair and everyone looks the same to me.
Oh, you've got that problem too.
Yes. It's
How
both nice to
strange.
see you, Happen Saints.
Have I still got my mustache?
Yes, yes.
I mean, that's a quite identifiable, but I guess.
You're wearing old
Hiya,
scrubs,
darling.
so.
Yes, exactly, that too. How else have you, who else have you spoken to in a mustache and scrubs? No one.
Got a point.
That is true.
About to say, Sebastian's always in his green EMS top. Ryan's always in this little thing with
All our clothes are stinking. We never changed them. Absolutely
He's always got the
honking.
really cool.
I changed my
jacket on.
clothes.
I can vouch for that. Earlier, he was in a really, really cool vest and. Were they 3/4 shorts or were they short shorts?
Oh yeah. We went diving.
Yeah.
Who
Well,
wears
they
short
say-
shorts?
They say
No,
went
they weren't short
diving.
shorts.
They were like 3/4. They say
No
we
one
went
wears short
diving.
shorts.
More of they went diving. I was dragged by owl. But yeah, we went diving.
Owls diving is probably one of our main sources of income at this hospital.
Hey, none of us got hurt with the diving. It was all good. I do
No,
actually still have the
no,
diving gear in
no.
my pocket though, and I kind of need to
Oh.
put that away. I think because it's really.
Wow,
heavy.
you must have massive pockets.
It's in the bag. It's,
I
it's
see.
in the bag.
I'll say
Smart.
you've aced it.
I need to go home and put it away.
It's probably a
You're
good
out with
shout.
I find a
Oh,
lot of
no,
my
these
references
red
don't
pipes.
get
Hold on.
much of a mention sheet.
Please,
There we
no,
go.
not again.
You're a journalist, right?
I am, yes.
Well, I don't know if you heard, we've had a bit of a story
Stand
emerge
in-
here.
I'll just stand in front of him in case he hits
About a
anybody.
locker or something?
Yeah, my locker was broken into.
Okay, right. He's yeah,
It seems someone targeted my locker. Somehow got in there.
Sorry, I was in my head.
Oh no, you're
Took
fine.
my
It was just in case
keys.
you accidentally whacked somebody.
Your keys?
Yes.
That's right, and then use it to access a
Why is it always
the administration office and steal hospital funds.
Oh. Why do you keep your keys in the locker?
Ryan.
that
We all
can
keep
do
our keys
so
in the
much?
locker. Where else are you keeping your keys?
Can I talk to you for a second?
I have it on a little lanyard on my person.
You have a person that you take around with you?
No one else is seeing me as bald.
I see you as bald.
Yeah, I
so-
don't see you as bald.
So we figured out those that have been here for quite a bit of time, like me that's been here since 4 p.m, are seeing everything
you
normal.
have any ideas
Those just waking up in the city are seeing
Literally no
people
idea at all. They had to have a hospital ID to be able to get in there.
I don't know.
very
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It's
Do you mind if I have a look at this
Yeah,
locker?
Danny did.
Of course you can, yeah.
Compare me to Pitbull quite a lot on that drive there.
Oh.
Oh, was it Danny that drove you?
Yeah, I was about to get my own car, but he asked me to do something in his car.
Someone has tried to access. Oh my goodness.
So yes, they attempted on that computer first and must have discovered they couldn't do it there and went to the administration office to try instead. No, what kind of hospital would have security cameras? See, my keys were taken and my car was then taken. My car key was in there and they took my car.
That is so unfortunate. And do you know anyone who may have a vendetta against you?
None at all. No one springs to mind.
Oh, that's very peculiar. Have you chatted to the police yet?
Yes, LeChuck has been here. He's done a thorough investigation. He's going to keep us in the loop.
Wow, my goodness, this is quite spooky.
Yes, but what it also means is now we're pretty low on funds. We're going to have a fundraiser.
Oh, that's exciting.
We're going to have a masquerade ball.
Oh.
Would you like to attend?
Oh, absolutely. Well, it depends on when. But,
Next Wednesday, a week today.
Well, next Wednesday. I think that should be fine. But I would absolutely adore to go, but... yeah, I'm a bit busy for the next few days.
I see. Well, everyone's invited, so if you can make it, that'd be just lovely. But yes, as I say, it's difficult times for the hospital, being so low on funding. We've already had enough cuts as it is. We can't even afford Strawberry Calpol anymore.
How much did they steal?
30K.
30K. That's quite a number.
That's a big old number, isn't it?
Yes. I wonder what kind of person would steal from a hospital.
They've got to be a real son of a bitch, if you ask me.
Oh yes, the low lives.
That's right, a low life.
Oh goodness me. And do you have any other information that you may think would be pertinent?
No, that is all.
Alright, well, I'll see what I can do. I don't have a lot of access because I'm not a police officer, but I'll keep my ear out.
Thank you very much. That'd be much appreciated.
Perfect. Did you want me to do a post on Twitter warning people, or do you want me to keep this a bit hush-hush till we find out more information?
I think keep it a bit hush-hush for now, and we'll see.
Perfect. I can do that. Right, well, thank you for letting me know.
It's my pleasure.
So you better be there.
You playing at the ball?
I'm
You're
playing
doing
at the ball.
it. You playing songs?
I'm doing it.
You being a wee superstar.
Where'd Willie
A wee
go? I was going to ask
superstar?
Willie if he would,
Just
if
being
they
a
wanted
wee
to play a
star.
song too.
Oh, I think Willie went for a little nap.
Willie's gone for a wee snooze.
Oh, well, hopefully they'll like to play some songs
I think anybody
too.
that's seeing people as bald should probably go for a little nap.
Yeah, if you're seeing people bald,
I think
go
it's
for a
actually
nap.
all the people who are bald who should probably take a nap, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what we mean. If you're
Oh,
seeing people
No,
bald,
absolutely not.
go for a nap.
I'll go for a nap.
Okay, see you in a minute, darling.
Wait, so the people who
see
are
you
seeing
soon.
bald napping, or the bald people are napping?
I think everybody should
Just
snooze
everyone
at
just
once.
Guys, everyone just go for a little
Here we
sleep.
go. Here we go, guys.
So if
It's
I
nap
was
time,
reading
everyone.
If I was reading a thing online, I
don't
think
want
it would
to know.
say if characters are still appearing bald for you, please take a quick nap. So I think it's the people that are seeing people as bald. that
Yeah.
Need to have a wee think about what they're seeing.
I'm fine. You've all got ahead to me.
Oh, well, in that
guys.
case, I can go and
Yeah.
change back to my haircut.
Yes, you can.
Where's Serenge when we need him to investigate this paranormal activity? Gosh darn it, by God.
He's gone AWOL. Don't know where he
Bit of a
is.
hairy situation.
Hey, Sebastian, that was great work over there. Well done. Give that man a raise.
I'll only take Kirk and do that.
What do you got
God.
on your sleeve?
By God.
If I ask another one, I'll get told off.
You would think you would maybe be charged happenstance.
So it's difficult to know when someone's possessed. It's not them that's really doing the thing, so it's difficult to... It's a legal quandary, I guess.
Is everyone going with the fluffy boy band haircut?
Literally every masked character
It's the
pretty much
best
has this
one.
haircut.
Because I had it and I changed it back.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
Ted got yelled
No,
at
we all
me.
have this haircut.
Yes, pretty much
Yeah.
every single
Hey, guys.
I've noticed.
male presenting person in this city pretty much has this haircut.
I feel like I should just
These
go
are
put
giving
the
me
old haircut
horrible
back on.
flashbacks.
I was gonna go for the bun, but I didn't know if that was
Hey,
that was
bro.
for me.
Yeah.
Painful.
What?
No, I'm not going to say it.
Go on.
I was going to say, do you trust me?
No. Bloody well don't.
Is that an Aladdin reference?
It's a
yes.
take heart reference.
No, it's definitely Aladdin.
Aladdin.
Yeah.
Do
When
you
he's on the
trust
magic
me?
carpet, he's like, do you trust me? To Jasmine before he pulls her over the balcony, pretty much.
Aladdin wasn't a dickhead though.
Oh dear.
Well, I mean, he was a little bit of a dickhead. He lied about who he was.
Oh, I've forgotten to eat again. I keep doing
Oh,
this. I'm so hungry.
Here
I'm
you go.
so
Oh,
hungry.
you silly sausage.
Shove a bit of cheesecake in
I
your-
wish I
in your
had a
mouth.
silly sausage.
Did I not get a pen about that?
Do you say, hang on, do you say cheesecake?
Yeah. You want some cheesecake?
I've got an important question for you right now.
Yes.
Is cheesecake a cake?
Yes.
What makes a cake a cake?
Right. It is made in a cake tin.
That's valid.
Mmm, that's good.
Yeah.
That works.
Thank you.
It's just I just don't
I'm not
don't
just a
understand
pretty
why it's
face.
called a cake. But that kind of makes sense.
Do you know what? I respect that. I don't really know why it's called the cake either.
Yes.
Delightful, honey.
Literally, the only cakey characteristic it has it is
glad you got
round.
home,
That's it.
Even then, not all cakes are round, you know?
Exactly.
I don't think the bald look was working for me, to be honest.
Oh. I think any look would suit you.
Oh, thank you.
Ellie, your hair looks quite nice, but you're on the floor again.
Breathe
Yeah,
in and out.
sorry, I'm just
That's alright. No need to apologize.
Thinking about
I'm
the
just in
cheesecake
my-
debate.
that too.
Gotta take
I'm
some
just in my
time.
head, so I had to sit down a minute.
She's just thinking really, really hard about some cheesecake.
Oh, I've been.
I have
It's just not a
carrot cake
cake.
on me.
I just don't understand it.
It's, well, you know what? It's just tasty.
It's more biscuit, surely.
Well, let's
it's a
talk
biscuit
about
base.
Jaffa
Heavily
cakes
ice,
then.
heavily
Jaffa
iced
cakes
Oh,
biscuit.
don't get on that subject.
Jaffa cakes are the bastard children of cakes and
Not a biscuit
biscuits.
where I'm
I
from.
love Jaffa cakes.
Is it not a biscuit?
Jaffa
Same,
cakes are so
April.
good.
I mean, the clue's in the
So
name,
good.
isn't it? Really, I don't see why it's a debate. It's literally called a cake,
It's a cakey biscuit.
That always freaks
but it's
me
not.
out that you
It's
guys
not
do
biscuit.
that.
It's not made of biscuit.
It's like the shape
Biscuit
of
is
a
a
biscuit.
thing. Biscuit is a thing, whereas Jaffa
Do you
cake
see
isn't
it
that
in
thing.
The cake aisle, though? It's always in the biscuit.
Oh, no, a biscuit is a thing, but a Jaffa cake isn't that thing.
Yeah, but you can also get your like Mr. Kipling kind of things in a biscuit aisle, and that's not biscuits.
Oh, well, not in my local shop. The Mr. Kipling stuff are in the bakery aisle.
Biscuits go soft when they're stale, and cake goes
That's it.
harder when it's stale.
Exactly. Also, they're clearly different things. Unless you want a crunchy cake. By
Actually,
God.
I do prefer my cake to be slightly crunchy.
Well, when it's
We
when it's,
did. We
when it's a
discussed
couple of
it.
days old, yeah, that's
Yeah.
good shit.
Like a little bit stale.
That's interesting.
That's honking. I hate to
No,
say
you're
it.
honking.
Logan's
You're, listen, I love you. But I don't know why you would hurt me like this by calling me honking.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Listen, I also don't like toast. And people think that's weird.
Do you like bread?
Not really.
Makes sense.
What?
Yeah, I'm not really into bread.
I gotta go.
It's too much for Logan.
I'm the same as April, not gonna lie.
Just wait to
Don't
see,
like
just see me
bread
get
that much,
dumped
but love
live.
toast.
I could never do it like that. Well, no, I'm kidding.
No.
Oh no.
I'm spending too
Do you need
much
cheesecake?
time
Yeah.
around. I've got all these jokes.
Oh no, you're okay.
I have carrot cake on me.
On you? In your pockets?
Yeah.
That's gotta be very messy.
Yeah, I'll give you some.
Oh wow, you've all got cakes. What's going on here? Everyone has some kind of dessert in their pocket.
There you go, darling.
Thank you very much.
I'm holding chocolate pudding and egg sandwiches.
Oh, they're gonna be all mixed up together. That's gonna be pretty grim.
Soup.
Dip in the one in
You
the
got
other.
soup in your pockets? By God.
Miso soup.
Be like
I
when
like
you're
that it
swimming
looks
and
like
they
a
fill
bowl
up
of
with,
salad.
you get out the pool and
Yeah,
they're filled with
same.
water. You have
Yeah.
to you splat them so it all comes out.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
What a great feeling that is. It's the old double
so you
slap
get
on
the
the
super-
thighs and the water comes flying out.
Been there.
Who's
many
with
a
me?
time. Yeah. Woo.
There we go.
I kinda got confused and stopped listening.
That's
get
fair
that a
enough,
lot,
to be honest with you.
He's talking about soup and I'm not sure.
Soup, tasty soup.
Yeah, he's got soupy pockets.
Delightful.
I think I had a cocktail called a soupy pocket once.
Oh no.
Was it
Oh
lumpy?
no.
Like
That
a Bloody
sounds
Mary,
horrid.
but with tomato soup.
No.
Oh
no. Yeah, I think I need to leave this time.
I think they think I'm being genuine about that.
Sunlight, I was going to take a photo of my new car when it's daylight again.
My car can't go anywhere without my Cassandra! Cassandra!
Oh, sorry,
Cassandra.
but you lost yours.
Oh,
at least
I
yours
just got
didn't get blown up.
catfished.
Wow. So, what are you walking around with fish?
Someone handed them to me yesterday, and I've been
Those have been
trying
in
to
your
offload
pocket
them
since
ever
yesterday?
since.
By God, the stench
Yeah,
is...
you must.
Oh,
it must
by...
be stinking.
Oh, my God.
Two whole catfish.
Oh,
Oh, my...
oh, you're
my
as
God.
stinky as Ted Bundy.
I think
Oh
they've
my
been in the
God.
boot with Levi's car for a while. as
Oh,
well.
it stinks so
Ellie's
bad.
a lucky woman.
I don't think Ellie has a sense of smell.
Must
anymore.
But not anymore.
Jesus.
Not since the wedding night.
Oh my
Christ. There
That
was
was a
no
naughty
wedding.
one.
We're just boyfriend and girlfriend.
Who are
I
married.
thought you were talking
For
about the
now.
decomposing zombie that was on the floor. That wedding? Were you not talking about that wedding?
Oh, that was
no,
a good
no.
wedding.
Ah.
It was a lovely wedding. It was the after bit that was a bit.
Yeah, the after was
Nellie's
great.
part.
Yeah.
After the
Bit
wedding,
squelchy.
it was the after party.
Yeah. At the hospital.
And after the party, it was the hospital lobby.
And then the morgue.
And then the morgue.
Sweet, sweet Morgan, may her...
Yeah.
She
I
be at
don't
peace.
think Morgan would have wanted it any other way.
No.
That's what she would have wanted.
It is what she would have wanted, to be honest.
So true.
What do I do with this taser that I got?
Oh, can I have it back?
Oh, shoot at random people.
Oh
Oh, we've
no.
got a person with a mask on,
Hello there.
checking themselves in.
Oh, okay.
Let's go and see who it is.
Thank you.
I've been complaining about people doing that when they shouldn't be.
They're missing out on the opportunity to have some of the finest medical servicing in the land. Look, they've
And
got
for free.
free medical professionals coming for them right now.
Hey, sir, I'm sorry, I was in a rush.
Oh, it's Freddy. Hello, Freddy.
Who is this
Oh, you
Freddy?
can tell
It's
by the
Freddy,
sneakers.
he's in a rush.
You're in a rush. It'd probably be quicker to see one of us.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a fair point.
leave him to it.
I was gonna say nobody understands it before.
What's with the haircut, by the way?
Oh, are you not seeing my hair?
Nope.
Oh, a lot of people are having this problem. There's some kind of weird vibe going on.
Wait. Hold on. Can you see my hair?
I can see your hair. Some people can't see it,
Oh,
and other
thank
people
God.
can. But
Oh, thank God.
the people who can't see hair are having naps, and then they're able to see it afterwards.
Is it here?
Right, there was some kind of thing there.
Yeah, it looked like it was here for a second. Hold on.
Henry von
Oh,
Hebke.
yeah, I thought it was here for a second. It's not here.
Oh, April's on it.
I'll go with April.
Yeah, I'm about to go.
I'll come.
I'm about to go for a nap because the trauma,
Everyone's
having
still
all the
bald.
crime that's happened here, I need a big long sleep.
Been
No
grind.
worries.
Enjoy your sleep, darling.
Have a good night, man.
Thank you very much. Stay safe, everyone.
You too. Hope
We
to see you
shall.
again soon.
Oh, I can't even drive home because the goddamn car being stolen. Boo hoo! A boo hoo hoo hoo! A boo hoo! Lucky I live right next door to the hospital. But wait, things aren't ending fully. If I can remember the correct keybind. Oh! Seamless transition. Oh no, I can't remember the... I might have to do it the long way. Ooh. Oh, hang on. Launch. Tools? Game? No, I'm gonna have to do it the long way. Seamless transition, as you say. I'm sure there was a thing to... I'm sure it was a thing where you could just press change character. Is that not a thing? Well, long way round it is. Silly me. It's chime. Did he? It's difficult for him to pull off. Like, how do you do that? How do you pull that one off? Right. Come on then, Fiver. Seamless transition. Let's see what happens for Trick Daisy this evening. Now, I'm under the impression that the 5M music will get muted. Pardon me. Oh, I just realised I need to send some information to someone. For no reason at all. Jeez. I'm not hearing anything. That's unusual. There we go. That sound. Let's get this. Get you. Why are we not getting the game? Why is the game not coming up? There we go. Here's our guy. The name's Trickdashi. Private Eye. And I'm here in the Quiet City. Though which ain't so quiet.
No, sorry. I can't come out this weekend.
How you doing?
You hear? You hear them? They're all shouting, don't stop talking. This place ain't quiet. This place ain't quiet at all. Look at these lifeguard vehicles. I can't remember where I parked my scooter, see? But, you know what else is worse? Crime. Crime doesn't know where I parked my scooter, and that means they don't expect it coming. They don't expect me coming. Me and the hog. Jesus Christ, where is my scooter? I can't remember where the car park is. I think it's this way. So you better watch out, Crime, because you're gonna forget where I am and where I parked. So you know I'll be sneaking up on you. So yeah, take that, Crime. That's you. That's you done for, isn't it? Haha, I gotcha. Stupid Crime.
Hey, how you doing?
Probably the worst of the monologues so far, isn't it? Also, I'm slipping into Happenstance's voice. This is one problem I've been having. I keep slipping into Happenstance's voice when I'm doing Trick.
Careful, moron. Yeah, mainly to work on my triceps. They just feel a little...
Also, I want to do this. Where am I? We'll be down here. Oh. Okay.
I get there.
I think it's up here. I can't remember where the car park is.
No, I've got a seminar out of town.
Dude, where's Muscular? Hello, Macatat. How are you? You having a nice?
Great.
You've missed some intrigue. There's been a mysterious break-in at the hospital for happenstance. But the plan was always to do an hour of happenstance and an hour of Trick.
Oh man! No. Everything okay?
Exactly. Crime doesn't make sense, so why would my monologues?
Well, the boss is not happy.
No, sir.
So,
my name is not Brad either.
That sounds horrible.
you were present for the start of Happenstance, so you saw the main thrust of what was going on.
Hey, let's take it easy.
God's name is this punk car park? Yeah, you better move it or lose it, bozo. I think it's up here, right? It's not up here. Oh, I'm gonna have to quickly cinematic mode just to get the map up. There it is.
What the fuck? Hello? Seriously, yes. Go fucking text. I'm trying to get hold of someone to make a reservation.
Phew. I mean, some people would have been present at the birth of Trick. Did I stream that? I can't remember. No, it was the second time he was on because I wanted to get him all set up. Yeah, move it or lose it, bozo. I'm already sensing there's going to be a lot of bozo today. He didn't eat the burger. It's just in his hand. He's got trousers. He's gone private now. He's gone private. It's changed. He's changed. Got more legit since actually not being an official law officer. Of course. The hog. We need some petrol.
Hey, what's going on, brother?
Oh, that reminds me. I've got to quickly do something. That's true. Not actually knowing any of the, well, literally anything was a bit of a problem. Not knowing a single thing about how to do the job. No, he wasn't fired. He just decided it was his time to retire and go private. That was all there was to it. Just went up to Hawkins and was like, Hawkins, I've got to go. I'm sorry. Just realized I've just got to quickly send something. After all that time as recruit, didn't even become a detective. He just became his own detective. Okay. It's wasting petrol here. Wasting it. No, he never got, oopsie. What have I done there? Oop. He never got that chopper training. The only chopper he knows about is the one he's riding right now. So I needed to get my phone number so I can tweet about it. So I had to write it down and then I'll do a tweet being like, anyone need to hire me? Call my number. Ah, you need me? Send me a whole tweet on the old Twitters there. This is risky stuff with my driving skills. Okay. Another thing that's worth knowing is, right now, he's packing heat. So he's really ready for action. Yeah, like, I thought it would be a fun thing to have him have helicopter lessons, and everyone was like, oh god, no. Like, do you not want to see that happen? I say him like it's not me. It's not actually related to my actual ability of how to play this game. It was always great being able to use that as an excuse. Oh, he's an old man, he doesn't know what he's doing. That's why he's so terrible at driving. Oh. Yeah, people have said try the controller. I think I'm worse. I think I'll be worse with the controller. Trying to drive. Either way, it's going to be awful. Still haven't got a business license though. I've not come across Judge Starr to be able to get my business license yet. Hopefully that's coming soon. What was I doing? Yeah, I just want to get fully fed and things, so I don't have to worry about those for a moment. 4 extra buttons. Nice. And I've got the bleeder if I need it. And I got the pizza if I need it. Yeah, what can you do with those extra buttons? Yeah, I guess, yeah, you can use it for the talk to speak. That's probably quite helpful. One-tenth of a second faster press the trigger. So you're going to be like the fastest shooter in Quiet City. I forgot to come to the venue and book the venue for the ball. I mean, he knows that I've not done it in character. I don't even know if this is where it is. I've just assumed this is where it is. Well, worth the £60. Oh, you'll be able to do a lot more of this.
Won't get their money back.
I don't
They're
care.
making art, right?
I don't care.
Is this it? I don't actually know. Anyway, what I want to do, that's what I want to do, is buy a Fitbit. Because then it alerts you when you need to eat/drink. And you don't get in the situation if you're using cinematic mode where you can't do anything about it. It's like an old-fashioned way of like, get me on the old.
I'm so excited! Implant Outsource is on tonight. I'm so addicted to that show.
No, gotta try and copy the number a second time. Yes, sheep. You gotta get in there. Gotta get in there, sheep. I think it's down there. Just gonna have to bite the bullet and not do it from memory. Oh, I hope I'm not seeing myself as bald. So hopefully I won't be seeing everyone else as bald. I'm gonna have that problem. The sheep farmer whose family tragically died in a blimp accident. I really wanted to see if we could have a police blimp division. Blimp squad. Which was partly why I was thinking if I could get him to get that pilot's license/lessons. Trick could be the captain of blimp squad. But the reaction that him getting flying lessons got made me think, I don't think they'll approve blimp squad. Most Fathom and Fun will mean the same thing. I also was looking up if they had hot air balloons, but they don't have hot air balloons. You can get a mod, but I don't know how complicated that is for 5M to mod things like that, so I didn't suggest it. What I have suggested though is the lifeguard station, to get a kind of a Baywatch thing going on. I've already made a character for it and stuff, so hopefully, because it looked free, so hopefully they'll go for it. The old devs. Any devs around? Sometimes I know you're in here, Rosa. Okay. Chatting to him, said Moose. Lisa Palmer, who's this? I tried to do a you know how older people always have their selfies, like pictures of themselves taken from down here. That's what I tried to do for my Twitter picture, but it didn't quite work. All right, let's get cinematic now. We've got the Fitbit. Oh yeah, cinema. That was nautical, yeah. I've also one character that I've started and then scared me. One character I set up and then played once and haven't played it since was a smuggler, like a sailor smuggler guy. So I really want us to start using the beach and the water more. But you kind of need something to drive people there, don't you? So hopefully we can get that going. Captain, his name is Harold Plum. Show the man some respect. Ew, my name's Harold Plum there. I was planning for him to have a kind of similar vibe to Al from New Cumbernauld, where he's really very personable, but then has this kind of other side to him, which is quite threatening. Was he the guy, the sailor that Davy Trout was mentioning? He didn't meet Davy Trout, I don't think. Did he? No, I don't think he did. But he could have been mentioning him without me knowing it, I don't know. I have no clue. It's a complete mystery. What proper cinematic mode is, I have no idea where I am. Not a clue. Now this looks like it's stream a little blurry. It says I'm alright frames wise and stuff. Seems okay. It's just you. Just you. Others rinsing the bam. Watching dog videos. I was trying to think, is there some kind of televisual event? Catching up on Bake Off. Absolute underwhelming final. All the showstoppers were absolute dog shit. And the signatures too, for that matter. We watched it, so we were at the theatre last night because we're classy. See the Mousetrap? I wish you could pull wheelies on this thing. Very classy, yeah. Classy people. So we didn't watch it last night, so we caught up in it this evening. At the new theatre, that's right. Had, I've already forgotten his name. Fella from EastEnders and Grange Hill. Martin Fowler, that's it. And Cassandra from Only Fools and Horses. Yep. But I didn't realise that until I looked up. Because I didn't know it was Martin Fowler. I was having a real... I recognise this guy. Why do I recognise this guy? Someone asked for a trip to the Only Fools and Horses convention. What? Well, Chronicles was saying he went... He was in Bristol and apparently... £500 for the... What would they have at that? Nicholas Lyndhurst? There's no way Jason's doing that. Lyndhurst would. If he's not too busy at the Goodnight Sweetheart convention. Jason was mooted? What?
Don't be such a cuca.
What? So they're gonna do a Only Fools and Horses convention, but they were like, we're not getting David Jason though. That idea is mooted. Get that out there. Other than Lyndhurst and Cassandra, who else is there gonna be? Surely Uncle Albert's not alive anymore. Surely.
I'm going to miss the Gallery Redemption exhibition.
Chalice is dead, right? John Chalice, no longer with us. The son, Damien. Damien? How much do you think Damien's kind of milking the fact that he was Damien? I can't remember the name of Dowboy's wife. What was she called? £50 for a picture. Don't you know who I am? I was Damien for Raquel. Raquel, yes. She's around. She's still around, isn't she? Well. Google Winchester. Who's that? Gary. Gary. You resembled Lyndhurst in your youth. Now, in your youth, did you resemble a young Lyndhurst or an old Lyndhurst? You must have been very tall. Well, I'm just kind of aimlessly driving around at the moment. It's true, he does look pretty much the same. I don't have the novelist number. Can't phone the novelist. You and that novelist, you're obsessed. You're obsessed. You have a problem. Now, obviously the instinct is to go to the hospital to then hear about the crime and stuff. But I can't just go there without a pretense. Doesn't make sense. Maybe fall off my bike. I don't want to. I don't want to take the risk of losing my stuff. I'm sure someone will get to me in time, but you never know. Whoa! I'm not falling off my bike. Plus, usually falling off this doesn't do much damage.
I think it was a local.
Friends, oh. Don't have time for old Trick anymore. Oh, wrong voice. Yash, she. There we go, I'm back in. Well. I was supposed to say, if I'm where I think I am. You get the key to the city. And hopefully the key to everyone's hearts. Whoa, that's the train yard. I've gone too far. You go too far! Alright, let's go forwards. Way. Now I kind of know where we are, though. Well, that's the thing, I handed in. I went, Hawkinge, I'm handing in my badge and gun. Now it's my business license that could be revoked. No, Hawkins was devastated that Trick was leaving. How did I get the heat? Bought it. Got a weapons license? I bought it. Professional. Rude. Absolutely rude. Ah. Kids these days. Effing and jeffing all over the place. Down the jazz halls. That's why I went. That's why I drove past to see if people were around outside, but looks like it's pretty quiet. Blow up a petrol station. They seem to be doing that by themselves recently. Get yourself in places and ask. Exactly. Whoa, sure. You feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm feeling fine, that's all.
Your voice,
Oh shit, I'm so sorry.
What was going on there?
I had a very demonic frog in my throat.
Why? Where you going around swallowing these frogs?
Yeah, they just jump in there all of a sudden. I don't really have a control over them sometimes.
Yeah, you might want to go and get yourself checked out by the doctors. Make sure you haven't, ingested any toxins at all.
This should be okay. I think it's cleared up now.
I see.
But I appreciate it. Oh, wait, you're the new PI guy, aren't you?
That's right, that's
you used
me.
to be the PD.
Do you in need of a Trick Daisy?
Trick Daisy, sorry. Yeah. No, but I think your card would come in handy for some things.
Sure, I'll give you my card, my phone number.
Here's my card. And
thank you very much. Yeah.
But yeah, Barry Bosco. I think we bumped into each other a few times.
I think we've crossed paths in the past.
Yeah. Anything worth knowing late at the moment? He seems to be the guy to know it.
Pretty quiet at the moment. Pretty dry for work. No one's needed me yet. Try for cop drop by the hospital, see if anyone's hurt themselves. That might need some investigating if something's happened to him. Get in the thick of it. See if I can. Crime's not coming to me. I'll come to the crime.
Yeah, fair enough. Do you just do cases that involve crime, or do you just look up
Well,
if, say, we wanted you to find somebody?
Yeah, if you've got a missing
do that?
person, something like that, all for that too.
Okay, that is definitely something to know. 'Cause,
Missing someone?
I
Someone
think-
gone missing?
No, but the man I work for, he's looking for somebody, but I'll pass your name on to him.
Your man you work for is looking for someone. Who'd you work for?
Colton Cross, the lead organizer for the motorbike charity.
Oh, I see. Where's he?
Well, that's what I'm trying to do myself. I'm trying to find him. I know he's about, so he's not lost.
Sure, you not got his
But,
number?
I've got his number, but I usually, before I bother him, because he's a busy man, I'll try and look for him myself, you know?
I see. Well, do you know how to? Could you tell me his number? I could get in touch with him. I don't know. Would he like that? I might hate that.
I'm not. I don't really give my boss's contact details to anybody, and then without his express permission.
Well, that's
so-
fair enough. Well, if you do get in touch with him, tell him to give me a call. You've got my number now. You can give it to him.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was mostly going to try and do. Be the what's it? The
I've met Colton. He seemed
introduction.
like a good guy. Motorcycle
Yeah, he's
charity.
a-
He wanted me to do some deliveries on my hog. Get some medicine to people.
Yes, Hog. Mm-hmm.
Yes, the beast, the stallion.
Yeah, sure. Still, it's a nice-looking Vespa. I'm assuming.
It's Vespa.
I think Vespa's like the type of the scooter it is. Well, bike, sorry.
What? What are you showing? What you talking about there, sir?
Oh, I think it's the brand of bike you have, the Vespa.
Oh, I think it's called a. Something starts with F. I can't remember what it is.
A Pegassi, I think. That's
Something like
it.
that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I see it.
Never heard of a Vespa. Never heard of one of those in my life.
I think.
Well, the only Vespa I know is there's a character in Casino Royale called Vespa. I only say that because do you think I look a bit like Daniel Craig?
You look like that's somebody who's dressed up as Daniel Craig.
I say. Hello there.
Howdy, you have a very similar fashion sense to me.
Ah, she. Well,
I like it.
yeah, we are very similar, aren't we?
Yes, what was your name?
Oh, I'm very sorry. I got a phone call coming in.
Oh, please.
Alright, I'll leave you guys to it. I'll be on.
You got Tracy on the horn.
Sorry.
You're that PR, right?
Chick Daisy, that's right.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Dacey, I might have a job for you.
Ooh, excellent. What's the case?
Tell you what, why don't you come and meet me at 6070 by the swimming pool?
So, what was that number again?
6070.
By the swimming pool, eh?
Yeah, that's right.
Do I need my trunks?
Hey, bring them if you want.
Always do, you never know.
You do never know.
Alright, I'll head there straight away.
Alright, see you soon.
See you shortly. Love you. Six. God, 6 is ages away. 6, 0. 7, 0. Oh. It's a 2. Where does it? Oh, here we go. 4. Huh. 6098. 60. 070. Oh, I didn't take a name. Well, I'll take it when so 8 7 3 7 2 6070. Oh God. Stupid cinematic mode. Let's ride. $100K to find the body. Now, I didn't take a name, but I do recognize the voice. That is Colton, who I was just talking about with Barry. Who plays Colton? Well, Mac Attack, it's one of your favorites, it's Smooth Criminal. It's your favorite novelist. Who Trick has met before, so it's not like going to be a mystery man. Yeah, seems a nice, innocent man, doesn't he? Nothing terrible could happen. He's looking for someone. He's looking for someone. He's looking for someone. He's looking for someone. Motorcycle. Whoa! Easy! Talk to NPCs too much. Lake Winewood Estates. Big Colton fan. Powerful Khan, welcome in. Have you had a nice Powerful Khan? Oh, you're around here. By the pool. By the pool, he says. Gee, this is some big fancy place here. There's tennis courts. Is that you?
Oh, hey there. Wow.
Oh, it's you, Colton. How's the motorcycle charity?
You gotta get your clothes wet, Trick. Yeah, the motorcycle stuff's going well, yeah.
Look at my little shorts.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll keep my
Get
shoes
those
on.
Goddamn shoes. Don't put those goddamn shoes
Oh,
in.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was going to ruin you. Oh, soggy socks. I'll leave my tie and hat on, though. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Where did you put that torch?
Oh, some mysteries are best left unsolved.
Fair enough. Well, you know, I thought this would be a good place to meet and have a little chat.
Yes, how can I help you? What's the situation? What do you need looking into?
Well, there's somebody from my past who I received a tip that they might be around in the city.
I see, and you want them found? What is it, an old friend?
Not quite like that. Somebody who sort of kind of stole from me in the past.
Stole from you?
Yeah. Now, you know, as you can see, I've done okay for myself.
Yeah, this is quite a fancy place you got here.
Yeah. So, this isn't about asset recovery or nothing like that. This is purely a matter of, you know, what do you call it? Principle.
See, you just wanna just make amends kind of thing?
Yeah, maybe something like that, Trick. Yeah, maybe something like that. I just wanna have a chat with him, see, you know, what you do that for.
So
friend.
if he paid you back, that wouldn't settle things?
Well, I mean, I suppose, but
I mean, was it a lot of money?
It was about $60,000.
Holy gee, we're looking at 60 big ones.
Well, I mean, these days I wipe my ass with $60,000, to be honest, but, yeah.
I see, and you want this person found, eh?
I do, Trick, yeah.
What's the name of this here fella?
When I knew them, they was calling themselves Lucius Snake Oil.
Lucius Snake Oil, you say?
That's right. Now, I have no idea if that was a pseudonym or what, or if they may be using a pseudonym now.
I see. And I guess, do they know you're here in Quiet City?
I'm not too sure. You know?
Just trying to figure out if they might be laying low or not. Would it be, because my first thought is, I'll put something out on social media, see if anyone's encountered the guy.
Right, yeah.
Lucius Snake Oil. Put it out there, because if he doesn't know you're here, he might be using his regular name. And if no one's heard of that, then maybe he is, you know, hidden himself away, disguised himself, using a fake moniker.
Oh yeah, that's real smart, Trick.
Yeah, more than just a pretty face.
And,
Incredible
I tell you
calves.
what. How about given that he stole $60,000, how about we make that your wage for the case?
Oh my goodness me, sir, that's a lot of money.
Oh, you know, it's just you know, it's a little bit, yeah.
Well, what I usually say is I take half at the beginning, and then if I crack the case, I take the other half then. But usually I say 1,000 at the beginning and 1,000 when I cracked it. That's a lot more than I'd usually take.
Well, I mean, you know, I appreciate your humility. I don't need to pay you that much if you don't want it.
Oh,
but,
man,
you
I'll
know.
take it. I'm not going to say no.
It's important that this person's found, Trick, is kind of the point, you know?
Well, I'll do my very best, sir. I'll take the case.
And I understand it's not a lot of information to go off as well, so I want to
Well,
make sure, you know, you're compensated for time, but I want you to look into this.
I shall. And don't you worry about it. I will, minimal information. That's all I need.
I like to hear that. I knew you were the person for the job.
I shan't let you down.
As long as you don't wear your shoes in my goddamn jacuzzi.
Oh, sorry, that
again.
was a real faux pas. I'll never do that again. My ID's 80 if you want to send that money across, but there's no rush at all.
Why don't you just give me your phone number and then I can do it via bank transfer and also ring you.
Oh, yes, of course. There you go. Did you get it, or am I too far away?
No, I got it. I just sent you mine too. Right, 1 second.
Oh, I just put the end of my cigar in the water. It's all gone out. Gee, holy gee willikers, sir. That's so much money. I've never seen that amount of money in my whole life.
Oh yeah, just a little down payment.
You own a charity. How do you make this money working for a charity?
I got lucky with crypto investments. What can I say?
Oh, that thing, I don't understand it. I've never tried. I just don't understand it.
Oh, come on. I'm sure you could wrap your head around it. It's just, you know, you buy it when it's low and you sell it when it's high.
Well, now I've got this.
Easy.
Now I've got this money from you. I'm gonna give it a go.
Oh yeah, you should.
I will. Oh my gosh, sir. Right, I'm gonna see if I can find Lucius Snako was the name.
Yeah, sure.
And hopefully you can get I can find him for you, and you can get those bridges unburnt. Restored.
Oh yeah.
Build
yeah,
those bridges and.
That's exactly what I want, Trick. You know.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. How should I let you know when I found him?
Well, I've given you my phone number. I suppose. You know, let me know the location.
Action. I will do. I'll let you know.
Yeah. Don't spook him or confront him or anything like that.
No, I shan't. I shan't. Don't you worry. I've got a pretty
good
good body.
See the view from my tennis court before you go?
I'd love to. Is it safe to assume that this snake killer might be dangerous?
I never got the impression that they were particularly dangerous. More of an opportunist.
I see.
You know, a bit of a weasel.
A Weasley character, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Look at this, Trick.
By God.
Look at this view.
Look at that. Oh, you got a nice view of... Is that a lake or is that the sea? It's a lake.
No,
my God.
This is a lake, yeah.
That's a lovely place. Maybe if I do well in crypto, I'll buy that house over there. We'll be neighbors.
Oh, yeah, that'd be nice.
I'm still keen to help out with your charity, remember? Make some donations, get some medicine to those sick kids.
Oh, yeah, sure. You know, my favorite thing is you can see the Vinewood sign from here.
Oh, yes.
Makes
Lovely
me feel
stuff.
like a celebrity.
You got any famous neighbors?
Not yet, no. I keep hearing about these rich Ardashians, but the fact that they don't have a mansion makes me think they don't have that much money, so how famous can they be?
Yeah. I see. Right then. I'll do my best for you.
What did you just do there, Trick?
I tried to do a handshake, but I guess that's not, not how you do it.
No, I'll show you how to do one. One second. I'm just trying to think about how to do it.
Yeah, I thought I knew how to do it, but I don't. There it is.
That's the one.
Yes. It's much cooler than I thought it was going to be, too.
Yeah.
Alright, I'll be in touch as soon as I figure things out.
All right.
Not sure how long it'll take, but I'll do what I can.
Keep it on the down low.
Well, I'm going to keep it on down low, but my first thing will be a tweet about it, so...
Oh, sure, but don't implicate me.
Exactly, I'm not going to mention your name at all, don't you worry about it.
Right, good. I'm paying you for discretion and
Hello,
competence.
John Atfield. How are you?
Okay.
Yeah. PI client confidentiality all applies.
Just like my attorney.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I won't let you down, Colton.
You better not, Trick.
He's got such a massive house. He's made so much money from the crypto stuff. It's unbelievable. I wasn't expecting him to pay me. I thought he was going to be like, I'll do it once you've finished. Right, Lucius Snake Oil. Let's find him. I've just realised I don't have my jazz crime playlist on. So it's not at full noir. We're not at full noir. Right, let's get somewhere fairly central and then we'll look out for information. The hog? The hog you mean, Powerful Khan? Should donut whilst riding that scooter. Well, now I've got this money. I wonder if I could upgrade the engine to make it go really ridiculously fast. Could be fun. This rain is really hammering down, everyone. I don't know if you can still hear it. Apparently you could earlier on. Already hear my sweet tones. Yeah, I forgot to put it on. I forgot to put it on. Oh, he's in because of the rain. Silly me. I was thinking, can't hear the jazz playlist. My brain's melting a little bit. Hang on, let me appear again. Hello. Right. So we're after Lucius Snake Oil. Snake Oil has stolen some money from Colton Cross. 30k, I think it was. So that's why I'm getting paid 30k. Not sure how that logic is. It was 60k, so 60k. Oh, I was thinking of I was thinking of the hospital stuff for the 30k. Well, Trick's got his first case and loads of money. You've never heard of Lucius Snake Oil? I don't think I have it either. Right, let's just hang out here for a moment. Chill out, don't want to waste my petrol. So glad they didn't maybe knew maybe a false name. Or he might be using a false name as Colton suggested. Gonna need petrol. And water. Maybe new, maybe first name. Any petrol stations nearby? Yeah, I'll ask at the usual places. MacJack is very excited to see Powerful Khan. I mean, we're all very excited to see Powerful Khan, always. Ooh. Looking wild. I don't actually remember what this Raven thing was about that you have been so curious about. Didn't I just...
Howdy, Logan speak. How can I help you?
This is Trick Dacia. I just saw your tweet.
Yes, I'm glad you called.
Is this pertaining to my previous tweet, or just something completely different?
It does have something to do with this person that you are talking about.
Ah, she. Where can I meet you?
Well, where's best for you?
Where am I right now? I'm not far from the police station. How about Pizza Dish?
Perfect. I will go get my car and I will see you there.
I'll see you soon.
Alright,
Thank you, Logan.
Of course.
Love you. Right, Pizza This. Oh, I'm gonna come off and... Right, we'll have to do this. And then... have to log off and carry on with the case another time. This case is about to be blown wide open. Logan's about to tell you that Colton was killed. Colton was killed? You think Lucius Snake Oil is Colton? By God. I have to get by God out of my head for Trick. By God's a happenstance thing. It's a happenstance thing, not by God for Trick. Jeez. He's killed him! He's killed him! Oh, it's closed. I wonder. Sorry, this is fun to watch, isn't it?
Trick Daisy.
One in the shame. Piece of dish is closed, so maybe we could just sit here.
Of course, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Watch out, it's pretty mucky down there. I mean, we could stand and talk if that's easier.
Oh, that's good enough. Yes, I'm not usually the one to sit on the floor.
Yeah, especially around here, it's absolutely filthy.
Yes, I don't make a habit out of it.
So, you think you have information about snake oil?
I think I do. I got called to a construction site.
Construction site?
Yes, and no connection. I didn't have really any connection to construction site. But was asking me quite a few questions. I didn't have a lot of answers, but seemed a little frazzled.
She seemed like an intense kind of guy.
Yes, absolutely. And what is the... Why are you interested in this person?
Well, I've been hired. See, private eye. He's got a friend. Where he wants to find him. Misha's the guy, I think.
Right, and do you know that name?
I'm afraid I can't tell you that, sir.
Oh, okay.
So these questions Snake Oil was asking, what was he asking about?
Just wanted to know if I knew a person, a specific person, and was asking if I could give up names of people who were involved with the hospital, but not directly.
The hospital?
Yes.
She? What? Can you not tell me who he was asking about?
Well, I'll give a name if you give me a name.
I really can't do that. It's confidentiality, see?
Yes, well, I respect that. As a journalist, I respect that entirely. It's just, you know, I with this individual, I did make a promise, and so if I'll give back what you give me, you know?
Sorry, man, my wife's giving me...
I see. Well, what about, are you able to ask me, you know, did you have any idea of the intentions of why he wants to know about the, what he wants to know about the hospitals?
Well, the person in question is involved with the hospital. I'm not going to say directly or indirectly, but that was about it, just asking about this person's whereabouts and if I was familiar with this person.
I see. And can you give me a description of the guy? I've not seen any photos or anything. I just know the name.
I'm afraid I can't, because I didn't take any pictures for the person's privacy, and
Can't remember?
I can, but it wasn't really wearing or doing anything that stood out.
No distinctive facial marks, anything?
Perhaps, but you see, I've been through a little bit of struggle recently. I've been in the hospital for a week, so my memory's a bit faded, a bit hazy.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a name. Okay?
Yes, please. Yes.
His name was Bench Walking Man.
Right. So thank you for that, but that is not the person that I was talking about.
No, that's the person who hired me to find him.
Oh, right.
That's what you wanted to know, right? That's literally all I have. That's all the information I have, other than what you've just told me.
Okay, well, as long as you don't go around telling people that I told you this, because I do fear that people's lives may be in danger if I go around telling everybody.
I see. Okay.
But this person that they were trying to find out about was a Dr. Happenstance. I was trying to find information about this person.
Information on Dr. Happenstance?
Yes.
I see.
This Lucius Snake Oil was specifically asking about information, and I said that I didn't really recall having that much of a conversation with Happenstance. But this person was led to believe that I actually had a lengthy conversation, but I don't recall.
I see. So it's almost like you've had several interactions with this Happenstance, but you never seem to remember who he is.
I do remember who it is. It's just I don't have any standout moments of
He's a forgetful guy.
conversation. Because I have met a lot of people in the city, and there are some interesting characters that I note down, and then some others where it's just nice to meet them. And I do feel bad about not really treating everyone as equal as possible in how much I get down and write down on my notepad, but I've got a lot of stuff on my plate, so I try to prioritize and get people's names and phone numbers.
I see. I know how it is. There's lots of people, a lot of things to learn.
Yes.
There
you
are. Cheddar.
Dr. Happenstance today, and he seemed in good spirits, and it was nice to have a chat, but left quite rapidly.
I see. And you don't have any idea as to why this person wanted to find Happenstance. Thank you so much for the raid.
No, not that I can really pin down, but I know that Dr. Happenstance did want to have a talk with me specifically because he happened to get something stolen from his locker, and the hospital lost quite a fair bit of money.
I see. So it seems the hospital might be my next point of call.
I would say so too, and I know quite a few people at the hospital, but they don't seem to know, well, the people that I talk to don't really seem to know if there's anything quite strange going on, but yes, I didn't really get another chance. I didn't let Happenstance know about this person that was looking
Yeah, I think that's for the
his
best.
safety. Yes.
Maybe we should try and keep it that way.
Oh, please, yes, mom's word. Look, this little interaction can be just between us.
Exactly. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you for giving me a read. It's been a delight. And
Well-
I do adore your fashion sense. It's nice to see someone who has similar taste to me.
Yes, well, I imagine you're a reporter, I'm a private eye. We're probably going to be bumping into each other a lot and probably could use each other quite a bit for information.
There is also another person that we share the same name, so a Logan Marshall. I would
yes.
keep an eye out for Logan because he's getting around talking to a lot of people. The new bounty hunter.
A bounty hunter? Ooh,
Yes.
that sounds pretty scary.
Yes. Well, I'm not quite sure of the character of this person, but we did go bowling together, so.
You learn a lot about
I
a man bowling.
Yes, I do think that he could be very important to this investigation. But if I ever learn anything, I'll be sure to give you a ring. Could I grab your phone number just?
Of course. I've already got yours. I'm not entirely sure how.
Oh, when you're on the phone, I snuck my business card into your
Oh,
pocket.
I see.
Oh, thank you so much.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Well, I've got to go and chew this over in my head for a bit.
Yes, please do.
See if I can connect the dots. But again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Also, did you notice that whole time this man's just been constantly walking into that bin?
I did. It's struggling a bit.
He's having a difficult time.
Yes, the local. Is that your scooter there?
That's my hog. That's the beast.
Oh, very nice. Alright, I'll be sending you around.
See you around. Right. Just gotta go find somewhere to park, and then we're done for today. So. Snake Oil has been asking about happenstance. You don't know why. Cheddar Stink, thank you so much for the raid. Oh, I don't have a mod to give you a shout out. Give me 1 second. I will shout you out. Fuel level is low. This could be a problem. Let's just get parked. Get Cheddar Stink the shout out he deserves. Snake Oil sounds very suspicious. There's definitely something going on. We shall have to continue the investigation at another time. Hopefully this isn't too far from the petrol station when it comes time to it. Tell you what, there was a car I was looking at for Trick. I'm sorry to cut it off when we just get our first little nugget. Let's just double check we hadn't have any more information from anyone. Okay. Not anyone else as it stands. There we go. Alright. Always living wanting more. Exactly. Exactly. Sheep, you know it. You know it. Cheddar, thank you so much for the raid. Let's give you the old... Cheddar Stink. What were you playing, Cheddar? Did you have a nice stream? Sorry, I couldn't acknowledge you immediately. I was in the middle of a scene. Will there be a day tomorrow morning? As always. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Who is on? To go and say hello to. Ooh. I guess we want more quiet city, right? Right, let's go.